which they said, Terrence, you're out of your goddamn mind.
I mean, when 1 + 1 does not equal 2.
Oh my God. He's one of my favorite crazy people in Hollywood. Oh, I do a terrible Terrence Howard impression
Do it, do
of
it, do it, do
him.
it.
Well, it's all right. At the end of Iron Man 1, he hasn't put on the suit to play War Machine, right?
Uh-huh,
But clearly they're gonna do a sequel. He's gonna be in it in
uh-huh,
his mind, and he's gonna
uh-huh,
play War Machine. And
uh-huh.
so he looks at it, he's like, next time, baby. And I'm like, there's no next time. The
There
most
is.
ironic line in the MCU is you calling your shot for a sequel and them being like, actually, Terrence are going a different direction.
MeMeCherry presents a series of fortunate events. Fortunate events. Fortunate events. A series of fortunate events.
Hola, hola, hola. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the series of Fortunate Events podcast brought to you by who? It's still me, MeMeCherry, and I'm joined today by,
Rod Morrow.
again, the return of the rod. So I have the first big project that I gave to the new production manager was to produce today's show. So a lot of today's questions, shout out Seamus, were produced by him, but I put them all in my voice. But before we get there, you were just on somebody's show and you have a live show coming up. So I wanted to get into those really quick first because that just happened and is about to happen.
Yeah, so I was just recently on the Basketball Jones, which is it was a live show by Bomani Jones, who's a sportscaster. And it was in Raleigh. I drove up there and they presented a thing that I wrote for Game Theory about Duke basketball because Duke Carolina is a big rivalry down here in our state. And they showed this clip to everybody in live audience. And so I had like 5 minutes before to introduce the piece, and then they had a panel afterwards that was like 20-30 minutes long where we talked about it. And yeah, it was a really good time. I thought I did a good job.
Yeah.
And it was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see you go into podcaster mode. Like it was like for a second, it was like for half a second, I could almost see you like, fuck, like there's a lot, like, and then you know what? No, I can do this. I got this. Boom. And then you were just like in the pocket. And
Yeah.
like you were in the pocket. And that was nice. I was kind of proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. Now I'm
Especially
very
holding the stage by yourself.
yeah, it was just interesting because they didn't tell me I was necessarily doing that. And I'm not like a stand-up or something where I have like, oh, here's my 10 minutes or whatever.
Sure.
But it went by so fast. I actually ended up being up there longer than I thought I was, because that was another thing. I said, are you guys gonna give me a light to let me know when to wrap this up? And they're like, nah, just 5 minutes, don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Just yap away.
Yeah, and it turned into being like 10 minutes. At one point, Bomani did remind me, like, hey, don't forget to tell him what the piece is about. I was like, thank you. That is I needed that because I was getting off track. But yeah,
You
so
went into
that
your pocket deep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It was a good time. I still didn't get every joke out, so that's like a good thing too. Is like still have more ammunition. And then this February, the end of this month, I mean, the 28th, we have a live show in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Blumenthal Center for Performing Arts. That's just our podcast live. Me, my wife, we have JL Covan, who's going to be opening the show for us. He's a stand-up comedian. And of course, my friend Justin, who's like almost like the unofficial third host at this point. He'll be there as well, and we'll play games with the audience and prizes. There's virtual tickets, there's online tickets. So if you just search the Blackout Tips live, it'll come up. And just yeah, we love to see you guys there. If you enjoy this and you join me here, then maybe you'll enjoy us live.
Yeah, no, I just pulled from the vault my 2023 live show, like Indiana Jones long lost footage. I mean, low key hikey was because that footage was what like made me snap out that like my body had just gotten to a point that I wasn't happy with it.
Mm,
And I didn't not want to look at that footage. And I tried to have other people edit it, but it just didn't work out. And I was gonna have Seamus actually edit it because I've been teaching him, but then finally I sat down with it because I'm now happy enough. And I think part of it
mm,
also taking my workout videos now because I'm
mm.
seeing my body so much now the way that it
Right.
is and moving the way that it is. And I'm happy with that. And it feels so healing. And I know that you can feel me because I saw you in your picture in the hotel room taking your little tally picture. And I was like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
in your little snazzy little outfit, looking all
Thank you.
snazzy.
Yeah, no, definitely. My trainer told me that last year. She was like, make sure you take pictures for progress and stuff, but also just make sure you take pictures so you can be comfortable with like your look, your changing
Yes.
body, so you can see the improvements that you're making, the changes you're making. It I kind of like not brushed it off because I do pretty much anything she tells me to do, I do it. But I did it kind of under duress, like if you say so. But now like I'll post up, and then the other thing she said was like, and then people are gonna be so motivated, people are gonna be so excited. And I'm like, because I'm not a person that typically looks at other people for motivation. So I was like, I don't know. But she's 100% right.
Yes.
And there's so many people that have been so positive and so like joining me on this journey, making their own journeys. And it's been a great environment. I always see your workout videos, you're always getting it. So yeah, you're right. It's very affirming, and it is interesting because it does make you more comfortable with your body in general.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel shame in your body, no matter where you're at with it. You don't want
Yes.
to, just because shame is like this artificial feeling that's like you judging you from the outside in, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, feeling some level of like acceptance and positivity. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't improve or you can't change. It's
Yeah.
your body and it's your ownership. But I have on
Yeah.
my vision board, I have a little this like, I don't know, cartoon it's the moon in all the phases, and it's like the moon is full in all the phases. You just only see parts of it. So
Yes. I've seen those Instagram ones.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I did my goals board. I need to sit down actually maybe soon because I need to do it soon and do a full I like going through the magazines and doing the pictures kind of like vision board. I want to do
Yeah.
that. But part of my written one, and sorry, Seamus, we're not going to get to your outline just yet. But I part of my SMART goals that I laid out for the year because I did like a proper exercise because MeMeCherry Productions is becoming an official proper business this year, and I'm
Congrats.
applying everything that I've learned at tech, right? Learn all that mediocre white man shit and apply it to myself. And although it was a white lady that taught me this, and she's great. And actually, I tracked her down on LinkedIn and said thank you to her because I was like, you know what? I was a garbage pail kid, barely surviving in tech for a long time, and there's been a few people along the way that saw something in me and
Mm,
gave me those little things that then were those aha moments that now it's like when I worked for the florist, like dang near 15 years ago. To this day, I can still throw together like a bridal bouquet with my eyes closed. You know what I mean?
right.
And there's certain things about the way that tech companies run things that it does make sense. You know what I mean? As to
Right.
why
Yeah.
they're effective,
It's not
right?
all bad. There's
Yeah.
a
And so
there's a reason they took over the economy.
exactly. So I'm trying to apply some of that to my small business. We're in startup phase right now. Also, if you're an angel investor, hit me up. But I want to throw this idea by you if you're okay for live
Mhm.
producing. So I was also a little traumatized with my first live show because it was very like friends and family. I basically paid to throw myself like a birthday party.
Mm,
It's okay if I do that again, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to
right.
properly put it together and promote it. And so I'm shooting for August this year because
Okay.
it'll be after Oaklash. Oaklash is in May. From now to then, it'll be ramp up season. Pride is in the summer, but October was the last one, and there was a lot going on drag wise and promotion wise
Mm,
that I didn't realize October's like a hot month. So I figured August was a better shot. Gives me runway to prepare. And so this is the idea I'm softly putting together. As you know from seeing my social media, I like to bake, right? I'm a
mhm.
baker. And like some of my merch, there's like little stickers. Some of you in the Patreon have gotten little baking Mimi stickers. Stay with me. So I've been playing with this idea of Keith always asks me if I would ever do a roast, and I'm like, no, I don't have thick skin for it. But I have this idea of a bake, which is like where we say nice things, but like in a mean way.
Ah, I like that.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So that would be the end of the show. And like you would literally come and I would like little big goodie bags that you would take home of like things that I literally baked. And then before the show would be a combination of drag and comedy because I bring the drag and Seamus brings the comedy. And I would tell the girls to do like baking themed numbers. And then the comics would just do comedy, right? But it would be like a drag and then some podcasting also, because obviously it's a Sophie pod, right?
Right.
So the way that I'm thinking is like a drag person does a number, a comedian does like a 7-minute set, a 5-minute set, then they stay on stage together to do like a game, wash, rinse, repeat a couple of times, and with drag, and then we have the bake, and then that's the show.
That's nice. That's nice. That's a cool idea. I've never heard that before.
Okay, great. But you reacted in ways that are like, you know, when I feed somebody that like when they go, okay, you said, oh yes. Okay, good. I'm onto something. So stay tuned. I'm already planning a photo shoot for like proper assets, and we're gonna market this and we're gonna book people, and this is gonna be a paid gig. And right now I'm trying to find the venue. So stay tuned. And again, if you want to like you know, be an angel investor, hit me up. Okay, let's get to the proper show. Oh, and again, before I get to Seamus's notes, I also wanted to, because you are a friend in my head and friend of the show because I have you on my TV while I'm working. So I had to do this. Go along with me.
Okay.
You are one half of the Black Guy Who Tips, and there is an official weapon of your show. It is
the folding chair.
And the unofficial sport is?
Bullet ball.
And edition bullet ball extreme.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, explain the lore of these to me.
Okay. So a long time ago, we didn't have any of these things on the show. We just introduced the show. But we used to read all these articles. And the articles we have a segment called Fucking with Black People. And it's normally just like sad stuff or sometimes like funny stuff, but we try to make it
like Keith's funny stories.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's normally gallows humor, but you know, every once in a while it's just genuinely funny. But you know, we would get these stories, and these stories are like, police shot this guy, police shot this guy, police shot that guy. And so one day we were on the show and it was just like, what's up with the taser? Why can't they just use that? Like it just seems like it's not, we don't want to be tased, but of the choices you are giving Black people in America, the taser seems like a luxury right now. I remember Don't Tase Me, Bro. Remember that guy? Like, and it was like most people saw that and it was like, well, the guy's being a jerk, he got tased or whatever. But I saw it and I was almost envious, like, wow, what was that like?
That's an option.
Right. So we were like, that's gonna be the
He's selecting B.
Right, exactly. Like, can you make the game not as hard as it has to be? Can I do this on easy? And so we started with that. And then one day, actually not even just one day, like, but there was this fight between Black people on a dock.
Oh, I was gonna say, is the folding chair the dock fight?
Yes.
And
these
the
white
guy
folks
that grabbed the folding chair
and was just kabonging people. Just kabong, just bam, just oh my God, he was messing them people up. And so it became like memes.
The one that threw the hat in the air.
Yeah. So different guy threw the hat in the air, but the guy that was kabonging, I don't know where he came from or got that chair, but shout out to that dude, saved some lives, and ruined some lives probably.
I mean, I'm over here laughing, but it's wild.
No, it's that I would say to me that is the crux of what our podcast is. It is for the people that see that kind of absurdity and understand the seriousness of it, but also are able to laugh at the absurdity of it. And so we changed,
which is why it's the official
to the folding chair.
The show.
Correct. Yeah. And Bullet Ball is just a story about a man who had a dream, went on one of those like shark shows, you know, those investment shows, presented his idea, this game called Bullet Ball.
Wait, really? It's a real game?
It's a real game, which is why it's the unofficial sport, because I don't want to get sued. Okay. And it went bad. It went so bad. We watched the clip on the show and we roasted the clip. Like we roasted him, we roasted the clip. It was just like one of the most awkward things ever, but it has a happy ending. because he
Okay.
did sell the game eventually to the Special Olympics.
Of
And
course.
it is now one of the official games of the Special Olympics. And so we always end it with that positive, but about once every year or two, we roast it again. So like we last year during our live show, we made the show, that episode was the roast of Bullet Ball again.
Oh my
And so
God.
everyone who knows the story looks forward to us roasting and finding new things to make fun of. But yeah, so those are the two things. That's why you got the folding chair, and that's why you have Bullet Ball.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you for giving me the lore. Okay, now shout out Seamus because the rest of the show is produced by
Okay.
Seamus Donahoe. So, Rod, you and your wife have been together since you were 16 and have
Mhm.
had over 3,000 episodes. What is the first memory that you have of the day that you met your wife?
Well, the first memory I have of Karen is riding the school bus. Um, because she saved me a seat because I was a bit of a nerd. And in the back is where like the bad kids sat, the bullies, people that want to fight you for your Walkman, those kind of guys.
Walkman,
And
shout out.
yeah, and I've always been a funny kid, but I can be kind of quiet. Like I don't need to I don't like holding court that much. I like talking to one of people. And Karen can talk. Like, I'm sure people pick it up from the show, but like it feels a little different there because I'm reading so many articles to her, but
Mhm.
just in life, she can talk. So I just sit next to her and she started saving me a seat, and she would just talk to me and we
Talk
were
your little
just,
ear off.
yeah, and we were just friends, and a long time considering we were kids, and so I think my first memory is her saving me that seat and me deciding
Mm.
like, oh cool, I'll just sit here every time. It's much, now I have a seat, so thank you.
Oh, well, this is great. Next question. What's it like to grab a seat at the kitchen table 1 minute and then sit across the podcast desk at the next? Who's the hubby versus the Rob, the social media mogul?
uh Mogul.
So who's the hubby versus the mogul? Like, how do you, I think if I'm gonna put this in my words, like,
mm.
how do you navigate, that 1 minute you're with your wife and the next minute you're with your business partner?
So for the most part, I don't see a true distinction. I feel like the things we talk about on the show are things we would talk about whether we were being recorded or not.
Sure.
Um, the main thing with the show is there's a production that I'm doing all the time. So the way the show is set up, I try to make it as easy as possible for Karen. She already has a full-time job.
It's just
And
talent.
yeah, exactly. I want her to feel like the talent. I want her to show
Yeah.
up and be like, I'm just my personality.
Yes.
And then
Oh,
also,
yes.
yeah, exactly. Oh no. And on the and in that way, I think that the key to the show is that she's a stand-in for the audience. So her real-time reaction is many times the audience's real-time reaction, because also they don't have time to be scrolling the internet all damn day. So yeah, so that's how the show differs from just like if we go out to eat or we're just having a conversation in a car. The other thing that differs is because we talk on the show so much, we kind of already know how we feel about every pop culture event and all this shit. And we're not necessarily trying to entertain anybody when we're out. Like we're trying to eat food or whatever regular people do, watch basketball. And so what happens a lot of times is we'll just be at a restaurant and we'll pull out our Kindles or we'll, do whatever. And, people come over and they're just like, wow, couples, you guys aren't talking to each other. And I just want to hand them like a card, like, here, you can hear us talk to each other 2-3 hours a day. It does, just here you go, buddy. But I would say
I'm gonna
those
be
are the
less
main.
judgmental because I do judge sometimes. And now my new storyline in my head is that these people have a podcast. And
Yeah.
that's why they're like on their phones at dinner.
Who knows? Not my business. I'm so
I
not
usually think
concerned
they
with
just
other
hate each
people.
other, but it's kinder
Right.
to think that they have a podcast.
Yeah, maybe this is saving their marriage. I don't know, but yeah, but yeah, for us, that's probably the main difference. And I'm pretty introverted, not socially, what do you call it? I don't have like a social awkwardness or any diagnosis or anything, but
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like
You're
old
not
school
on the
introvert.
spectrum.
Yeah, old school introvert. The kind that's just like,
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, how about lovely weather? And it's just like my fucking chest shrinks up. Like, oh, what about the
You
traffic
don't
on
like
the
small
101?
talk.
No, I don't like. I mean, I don't want to say I hate it because I can do it, but it's just a
Yeah.
chore, you know.
But here, I think this is one of those like markers, right?
Mhm.
Get in the Uber driver. Well, I'm bougie sometimes. I pay for comfort. I select the don't talk to me, bitch. So
Mm.
if you didn't have to pay for talk
Mhm.
to me or don't talk to me, you get in the car. What do you prefer? Like, what makes you happy? That they talk to you when
Um,
they chat you up, or that they just leave you alone?
I prefer they don't talk to me. But the other thing is, when I'm in the Uber, a lot of times I'm with my wife, and if Karen's in there, she prefers everyone talk to her all the time. But in some ways, it can almost be like a shield because I can just kind of be invisible because it's like, oh, you guys are just talking, you're talking very hard, and you're not paying attention to the fact that I'm not interested in any of this. So,
Sure.
it balances itself out.
It's a mini dinner theater.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
um, so you've been podcasting for a bit now.
Yeah.
When you first started, who was your dream guest and who seemed impossible to book at that time?
Huh. Hmm. So we started so long ago that there weren't guests on
Sure.
podcasts
It was
in like
just the two of
ours.
you.
Yeah, and like because it wasn't like Zoom yet, we would have like Skype maybe to do like oh my god, it was Skype, but it was through our desktop speakers, and
Oh
then our blue
yeah.
snowball mic sat on the
Oh yeah.
desk. So it was very, very low quality. But yeah, that being said,
Web 1.0.
yeah, like we were cutting edge, you know what I mean? Like we were this is before iPhones. This is iPods and like iPod Nanos and like all
Oh,
the Zoom, the
the
original Zoom.
yeah, the fact that on my phone now I can take video and on the Instagram app, edit it, add voiceover to it, make a little thing. Like I'm making little mini movies on my phone.
Yes. So all of this was just foreign to us.
Yeah.
So when we started, I wouldn't say that we necessarily had like like a guest in mind. And at this point, I feel like I've talked to so many people that are people that I wouldn't have thought about having on the show. And I don't mean in a bad way, but just because I would have been like,
Sure.
why would they want to do our show? But some of my favorite people have been like Roy Wood Jr., of course. Having Keith and him on was great too, because I really don't think we would have started a podcast if I had never heard them, because
Yeah.
I didn't think of it as a thing that you could do as a normal person. I thought you need to
Yeah.
be a celebrity.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
them
Like
on
Adam
was a big
Carolla or
exactly.
yeah.
Dan, I think his name was Dan Carlin or
Yes,
something
Dan
like
Carlin's
that.
the history one.
Yeah, like those, like there were very
Hardcore
few.
history with Dan Carlin.
Yeah, there were very few podcasts in the general, This American Life and stuff.
Mark
But
Maron. Like, yeah.
right. I think Heathen a Girl before Mark Maron even. Like
Oh,
that's how
yeah,
long ago it
he
was.
credits them.
Right. So like they really were inspirational in those
Yeah.
ways. So yeah, I feel like the biggest my people that have been my favorite guests, like Roy Wood Jr. has been a big one. Um uh when we had Sarah J on, who does like she's a porn star. And so like we had her on like 2 or 3 times, and she's like answering all our questions about pornography that we have and stuff like that. That was like really fun. Janelle James,
Oh
like
yeah.
we've had like big name people, but yeah, I don't think, honestly, in my head, a dream episode of our podcast is really just me and Karen talking. So
Yeah.
it's never really been like, when we get this person, it's gonna be, it's like,
Sure.
oh, cool. That's a cool thing, but the core of it is just us having fun.
Sure. Well, shameless. My coach has said that I should get booked on other shows. So my coach said, wink, wink.
Okay. I'll holler at you.
Please, thank you. Because also
Yeah.
Shameless also was like, how do we get you booked? I was like, I don't know if Rod wants me on his show.
I mean, it's really not that big a deal. Like, come through, we'll chat it
Okay.
up. We'll talk to you about your podcast journey.
Okay,
I
awesome.
love interviewing
Yay.
people.
Okay, guess that would be an honor and a blessing and so great. Thank you.
Yeah. Nah.
So where do you find inspiration to keep your show fresh in the ever-changing landscape of social media? Because like you said, think about just even the production value of your show, how
Mhm.
it's changed over time. And you're like me, like Keith is a little bit of an old man about it. He hates doing all the social media stuff. Me
Yeah.
and you're pretty on par of like putting the little reels together and like blah blah blah. And you're like really good about the reels with the clips
Thank
with the
you.
show. And so how do you stay inspired? Because you have to, there is something about it that you have to enjoy it a little bit to like,
Right.
because if not, it's just a grind.
So there's a couple things there. First of all, like with the show stuff,
Yeah.
I was just telling somebody, I look at it almost like jazz, like improvisational jazz, meaning like I don't get too committed to anything on the show being like, I'm not
Yeah.
very rigid. And um speaking of
I say
Keith,
don't be too precious. That's my thing.
yeah, and speaking of Keith, like I love how professional he is with his show and like protective, but like I I kind of like the rock and roll of like we every once in a while we have guests like we have Corey and Vernon from the band Living Color. And they're fans of the show and they'll come on, but they're also like men of a certain age, so they're not the
Sure.
freshest with technology.
Sure.
And we spent episodes where we have them booked for like say an hour and a half. 20 minutes is technical difficulties of them figuring stuff out and yelling at each other and all this stuff. And we leave it in because I love that kind of shit. And I'm like, if I was a fly on the wall, I would, I get it that this is not professional. But I'm not I'm not trying to be on ABC. I'm not making This American Life. I'm making my own thing. So like part
That's
of it
become
is
my hot cam.
yeah. So part of it is accepting the rock and roll of it.
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is as things change, we change. So like I remember before the pandemic, I was reading a lot of books. So we started a segment called Reading Rainbow, and I would just talk about what I'm reading and save passages and be like, let's just talk about and think about this. And also I was always trying to think of ways to get Karen involved in the show right away, as opposed to like, let me read you an article and then you tell me something. That's been replaced with our banter segment, which is like refashioning what we used to call random thoughts, where we would just come up with stuff. And
I love
would
the
know,
banter jingle.
it's so good. Like our audience is so talented. They send us stuff all the time. It's just like, oh my God, you listen to this? You sound like you have like a real talent in life. You should be out doing stuff, not just listen to our show. But yeah, so like that's a big thing on like changing like the landscape of like what the show is. As far as social media, it really started getting better and taking off with reels and those social media clips, because we got signed to this network called Inflection Network.
Okay.
And it's from this guy named Mike Smith. He's like a sportscaster. He was on ESPN, also a fan of the show. And he got this imprint at iHeart, and he was like, hey, what would it take to get you guys on the show? And I was
that's
like,
why iHeart is tagged.
yeah. And
Okay,
so
because I noticed that today. I was like, okay, how did this happen?
yeah. And so, with some like negotiations behind the scenes and stuff, it was like, okay, well, yeah, we love to hop on. And one of the things when they were negotiating was like, hey, we see this as like a commitment to like really helping you guys with social media, helping you grow your brand, all of that stuff. And we're like, okay, cool. Like you hope they deliver, but you never know. And last year they really stepped up and they really went hard. They got like a social media team, and I send them like these clips. I think this will make a good clip. And they're killing it. Like the clips, the little like
they do the editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten better and better at it. It's still a work in progress. And like the people that are just so quick at it and like, like my gosh, shout out Trisha Paytas, one of my dream guests to be on the show. And her editor, Jimmy, like I slid into his DMs. I was trying to get his information. That man is like booked and busy, but he has this like really special, fun, meme kind of like editing style. And that's what I love. And like, that's my ideal. Like, when we get to the point, because we are investing and we are growing and we are putting, that's why I have a production manager now, and I have SMART goals, and I'm going to register as a business because I do want to grow and I want to keep growing. And that's why I'm so fascinated with your journey, because like you're doing it as a job. I'm an entrepreneur, but I still have a day job. You know what I mean? Like this is all a self-funded.
And I did for most of the show too. Like it wasn't like now where it feels like people come in with a plan and it's just like when I started, I don't think Keith and the girl and then every celebrity were the only people I knew that were like somehow making and even with those celebrities, they're not making a living off their podcast. Like their podcast is like a supplemental thing they're doing besides whatever they do for a living. And so I would say at least to me, Keith and the Girl was the first people I saw that was like, yo, they're making money doing this somehow. And so
that's how I
now
got the
it's
name, was
changed.
doing their guide. I did their podcasting guide. That's how I came up with the name Series of Fortune
Oh,
Events.
oh, that's dope. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was another thing. They was like telling us how to get in the game, you know? And so all that being said, like now it feels like it's all like, come in, you get a Patreon, you get a Patreon, you know, and everyone's like, get your LLC right away. So you can feel like you're behind the 8 ball. But I would tell people that you're not. Like, you got to start where you start, and it's okay to build up to something, because I feel like a lot of this stuff is a lot of work, and it's a lot of dedication and consistency, and it takes a lot of time. Especially if you want to like grow it into something where you're like, this is how I make my money. I don't think we got to that until maybe till I got laid off the second time when we had the show, and we literally had 6 months of unemployment for me to be like, I hope we can make enough money to do this. So that, I believe, did not happen until maybe 2015, 2012 or something. So
How many
like
years in were you?
we would have been about let's see, we would have been about 5 years in at least. So somewhere between 2012 and 2017. I don't remember the exact date. I'm sure I can go look it up through episode titles. But yeah, it was really that long before. And we had been doing little stuff already. Like we had like a little donation thing. Like you just want to put a little something on it, put a little something on it. We had merch, we had this, but that was different than starting our like behind the paywall stuff. Matter of fact, if you've already started that, you're ahead of where we were. And that is something that I think is good to start that right away.
Yeah.
Because I know so many podcasts, they almost sound ashamed to be like, guys, I would like to make money off this one day, and I'm a you know,
I mean, that's
maybe
how
if
I
you
felt in the
want to.
beginning, right? Because like February 14th, I realized I went back onto SOFEpod.com and I looked to see when I posted the first episode. I was blown away. I didn't realize that 2/14/2017 was when I posted the first episode. So I'm doing a giveaway right now. If you sign up to the Patreon and any level, including the free, and leave an emoji in the pinned comment on my Instagram, you get entered into the giveaway. And on February 14th, on Valentine's Day, you'll get something sweet from me, which will be like one of the t-shirts and some stickers. And I'm really going heavy with the stickers this year. And like, yeah, because the Patreon, I still am not at a point with either, you know, like the Libsyn downloads or the YouTube, because I also don't like to gatekeep this kind of information. I think it's important to like share, because it helps set like, you know, realistic expectations, right? And so like I started was very much a passion project, but I was always investing from the beginning. Like I've always paid for my hosting, because I learned that from Keith and the Girl, that you don't go to like the free sites because then they own your stuff. And I know that IP is like always important, which is why now I'm able to build a back catalog on Patreon. Blah 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 blah. Not to get too heavy into the whatever. But the fact that last year I was able to finally, I was like, oh, duh, a little Patreon. Like I have enough content now. That was the thing. I was like, oh, I have enough content now that I can do the back catalog. And then I was like, what else? What else? And then we talked about it. Like the Trisha paid us that she sends stuff in the mail. So that's why I started sending stuff in the mail. And that's been a journey, right? And, you know, the idea of the Whisper Lounge, like that, I'm still going to do it. We're going to go to Vegas at the end of the month to interview people. And I'm going to bring like my whole little setup and get like a really nice suite and like record some Whisper Lounge content to finally get that going for the Patreon. And you know what? I feel like this is the perfect time, I feel, to do, maybe if you're okay with it, a nice little Patreon pitch.
Dude, let's go.
Yes. So I figured I'd let you know. I think you already know that MeMeCherry has a Patreon, and the MeMeCherry Patreon has 3 tiers. And you, if you're very sweet and very nice, wanna for $3 a month, maybe? I don't know. That's like not even a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee costs you more than that. You can join the honey level, and you're gonna get the hot cam footage, that footage of like just people messing with their microphones, or us figuring out if we're okay, or just saying hi, or I think sometimes people burp and fart, you know, whatever. It all goes into the hot cam. That really sells it. The vault, like the Disney vault, is slowly being built. And actually, my mom, while I was in Puerto Rico, offered to help me build it and just like do a lot of that back end stuff. And I'm like, Mommy, you're a former tech CEO. You will be the most overqualified intern ever. Yes, please, and thank you. So look out, the vault is actually going to continue to get built this year. Production credit, you'll see your name in the show. You will also get stickers in the mail. So you'll get one sticker in the mail every month and a little note from me, handwritten. It's like a little Valentine. But if you want to make it a tiny bit sweeter and you want to give me, I don't know, $6 a month, you can do the sugar tier, and you're going to get all of the things in the honey level, the hot cam, the vault, the production credit, but you get 2 stickers in the mail every month. 2 stickers in the mail. Can you believe that, Rod?
No, it sounds like this is a losing proposition for you. This is only once you add in the mailing, the time to do it.
Oh, but you know what? For so many years, I was in the whole like, let's save the post office. So I have so many stamps.
Look, hey, I feel you. They know me up in there. Every year we send out Christmas cards, and every year I'm just like, I'm keeping Uncle Sam afloat. You're welcome, buddy.
Yes, but the sugar tier, you also now have access to the new What's in My Snurse. This is my Snurse, and there's questions in here, and we picked them out. That's Patreon exclusive. And actually, look out, because Rod is going to play What's in My Snurse with me when we're done here with the main show. So yes, join the sweet fun today. That is the sugar tier. But can you believe, Rod Morrow, that there's
another tier?
There's another tier.
What?
If you take sugar, throw it in a pan, and you throw a little heat on it, you get caramel, the ultimate SOFE experience, aka the VIP treatment. This is the top tier experience. You get all of the things from the honey and the sugar level. You get the hot cam, you get the vault access, you get the production credit, you get the 2 stickers in the mail. But every 6 months, and actually we're coming up, you get a t-shirt in the mail. And these are limited drops. So for the second half of last year, there were specific designs. The first half of this year, there are specific designs. This Whisper Lounge actually is one of the t-shirts for the first half of 2025. So if you sign up to the caramel tier in the first 6 months of the year, you'll be able to pick from this or another design that's being designed right now. You get
That's
all
a
of
dope
that.
shirt too. Does it come cut like that, or you did that?
I cut it.
Oh, okay. That's
I
a
cut all
dope
my
shirt.
shirts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, dive into the sweetness and become a caramel member today. And you might be asking yourself, Mimi, why? You work for a tech company. Why should I give you my money? Well, by joining my Patreon, you're not only supporting a podcast, you're helping to uplift independent storytelling and ensure that every guest who graces our mic gets love in some kind of way. I'm striving that by the end of this year, if you come on my show, you get a thank you in some kind of monetary fashion. And so that's one of the goals of the Patreon, because every guest should be paid. That's my goal. My production manager, he doesn't work for free. I pay him. So Patreon, you help me pay this production manager who's helping book guests. He's going to be on site sometimes to help with these guests. He's coming with me to Vegas. You know who paid for that flight? I did. So come on, Patreon, help us out. And you help me keep creating fun, thoughtful, and inclusive content for the community. So please, and now more than ever, independent media is important. So please, and thank you, patreon.com/MeMeCherry Productions.
I like that.
Rod?
That was nice.
Thank
Listen, you sold that. And I appreciate it, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is I feel like people get ashamed to sell their stuff. And it's like, nah, man, you got to put it out there. Make people smile, make them happy, make them want it. And I think you did all 3.
Yeah, no, and I don't believe in just asking for money for nothing. Like, you're gonna get something where it's an even exchange. We're exchanging tings for tings, as my pod daddy would like to say, Keith Manley. Hi, Keith. All right. So back to before we go to the game that Seamus put together. Yes, given a change in the landscape, as I said in the Patreon pitch, I believe that independent media is more important than ever. How do you feel, Rod Morrow?
Oh yeah, it's so weird, because like independent media in some ways got us to this space where like the fact that there's no traditional checks and balances and fact checks and editors and stuff allowed certain
Are
demographics.
in traditional media, and those fuckers are rolling over, which is why I
Right.
think independent media is
So
important.
yeah, so well, like, that's what I was gonna say. Like, so in some ways, independent media got us here because there's been like this unchecked, rampant thing. But because traditional media didn't do its job, I feel like there's a lot of people who are now looking at independent media spaces to be like, okay, well, I guess we have to be the keepers of what is true, what is factual, what is right,
Yeah.
what is moral. And so in those ways, I mean, when we started our show, I definitely did not have those priorities. Like, and I don't mean in the I was out here being like, take ivermectin. I mean, just I was like, we're having a fun show, and there's already traditional media to do that. Go watch ABC if you want. But watching traditional media sort of deteriorate,
I mean,
and
people are quitting on the air right now.
yeah, and before that, you know, they couldn't figure out how to monetize their media. I think a lot of reporter personality types fell in love with social media more than they fell in love with the traditional hard like fact check, proofread, send in the piece. You don't hear the audience writes letters to the editor, and that's how you know how you did a good job. I think they fell in love with like, this got a lot of retweets. Oh, this headline got more clicks, and now we're here. And so, yeah, I feel like sadly, independent media, our non-traditional media is going to have to step up and maybe be a bit more rigorous, be a bit more passionate, be a bit more discerning, because if we just leave it unchecked, we kind of get what we have now.
Yeah. There was a passionate exchange that happened on last week because of Keith's appearance. It's very meta. It's like one show appears on the other, it talked about the other, it appeared on the other.
Yes.
I was honored that you all were yapping about me, and B, I wanted to actually close the button on that because we had some conversations in the DMs, and I figured we could like not everything needed to be public, but I wanted to clear a little bit that I think was loosely quoting Hassan Piker specifically and some like other people. I'm a parrot sometimes, and I don't always have the full context of things. It's just that I'm always consuming chronically online, semi-gay, and I don't always parrot it back with full context or correctly. But the intention of when I was saying about talking to some of these people because we might lose them, it's just that I know people that are people that I know and are like saying things that are like borderline kind of like this pipeline of like manosphere-ish stuff that then, you know, it is a domino effect. And so those are the ones that I'm talking about, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. First of all, I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a job that needs to be done. I think what I've famously said a few times at this point, I know I won't be doing it. Like I gave my best shot. I've tried. I at this point it's about protecting my peace and my space and my people.
Yes.
And so if there's people who look in the face of this and still are kind of like on the fence about like fascism, it's like, bro, I don't want to do this dance with you, but it's a job that needs to be done. Ironically, I think that's what politicians are for. I think I think a politician shouldn't get to opt out of this and be like, well, I'm gonna just go on my Twitter and talk to my people. No, you are the person that should go into the community and convince people who are on the fence, people that don't understand ideas, that need to understand ideas. You should be explaining that. As a non-elected person, who just does their podcast the way they want to, of course, I'm like, nah, F them people. But nah, I don't think that that's wrong. I actually think that's very right. And I think the spaces we've created on the left have been a bit isolating to certain types of folks. And it's not like if there's say a Venn diagram, there's part of that circle that can be gotten back because they were over here in the first place. Then there's part of that circle that's just, you don't even really want them around. And so
it's the ones that are drifting, that they're kind of just like drifting. And I think it's just, again, seeing people in my life that, and it's not that they necessarily voted for Trump, but they be saying some like borderline transphobic shit. And to me, one begets the other very quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I thought, you know, the point you made about Keith was important because not because it's like, Keith, you're the worst of the worst, which I think is how people,
No.
I think when people hear it, that's how they take it. But I
Yeah.
think the point is important is that you're a person that on the outside looking in, people would have make certain assumptions like, well, this must be how he feels. Why would he make this joke? Why would he say this thing? Why would he ask this question? These are not the questions we ask each other in these circles. And
Yeah.
and at the same time, though, if you look at it in good faith, which is how, you know, you would hope people do, you can go, oh no, he asked that question because he's curious. Like he, you know, or
Exactly.
like he made that joke because he thought it was funny or whatnot, as opposed to like because he hates, you know, it's not Dave Chappelle sitting on there for an hour being like, and the trans people. So like,
Yeah.
I do understand that there's a difference, and I thought that was a valid point because there is this thing that happened, I think, especially via social media, where it began to be like, oh, you're off by 1 degree, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? As opposed to being like, you're off by 1 degree because everybody's off by 1 degree on something. Like none of us is up to date on everything. And protecting the flock isn't necessarily kicking everyone out of the flock that doesn't understand or doesn't know yet or hasn't figured out the whatever the rules are. Is part of it is making people comfortable and making people learn and empathy and stuff. But by the same token, there are some people that just don't want to even play the game. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be part of the flock. And so I definitely understand the energy that Keith was giving of like, no, but fuck them people. Cause I feel that deeply too, where I'm just like, there's certain people I ain't waiting to come back. And if they got to come back, it's Batman at the end of Batman Begins, where it's just like, I ain't got to save you. So like, I won't kill you, but buddy, you're gonna have to figure out how to come back and be part of this community without my help, because this, like, you need to show that you want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do the work for you.
Yeah. Cause like
No,
some of
I
this
get
stuff,
that.
like some of this stuff is so weird. Cause it's just like, that it's definitely become like its own echo chamber, even though they're like all free thinkers and shit. Like it's become its own echo chamber, and it's very intoxicating, I think, for people to just constantly be fawned over and be like, no, you're right, bro, we're gonna start saying the R word again or whatever. It's just like,
It
I
just
mean,
becomes
it's
a big
weird
jerk,
that
a
you,
big circle jerk.
yeah, it's like, to me, I'm like, it's weird that you needed that, even though I understand people need community, but it's weird that that's the community for you. And so,
Also, I
you know,
think
it's
the free
hard.
thinker thing is just an excuse to be an asshole.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Cause they all think the same shit. It's like how the fuck you a free thinker, but it's like,
And you're all
what are
free
your
thinking
free
the same
thoughts?
free thought.
Right. What are your free thoughts? My free thoughts is no vaccines, bro. Like, right. And if I happen
wonder if sorry, I wonder if it's sorry, it's a bad joke, but I'm like, I wonder if we put a cost to all of your free thought, it would all be $1.99.
yeah, right. It's at the dollar store, dog. It's not, these are free thoughts because they are fucking giving them away. But yeah, it's still like a coded community type of thing that they're doing over there. They're just not calling it a community. But you know, when you see like the some of this stuff that we're watching where it's like the bro type of atmosphere, guys, you guys are a community. You know, the thing that where you guys are dressing up and cosplaying and holding guns and like going out and standing places, guys, that's your community. You guys have a community as well.
The name, I mean, the word manosphere. Sphere is a circle. You're all in a circle together.
Yeah, like I don't know why you think you're so much tougher than everyone else. Like, so yeah, but there anyway. I wanted to say like, and I think we expressed it in the DMs, but there's merit to that side of the thing. I didn't want you to feel dismissed. You know.
No, I appreciate that. You know, okay, honey, that's enough. Yeah, with the manosphere thing, I think part of the whole kind of like rejection of community is, again, it's like that individualism bullshit, because then it's easier to look down on others because of the whole exceptional individualism kind of like bullshit. And at the end of the day, we all need each other in one way or another.
Yeah, they really do. They, you know, they need those hugs. They need, you know, how much of their weird stuff is like men's retreat. We're gonna tan our balls and we're gonna baptize each other in the water and cry. I'm like, fam, you guys are hugging each other. Don't,
and they're doing some of this too in the background.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Don't try to like play me, dude. Like, you're not better than me. You're not tougher than me. You're not a different type of man. Like,
No.
if
And
anything,
half of those men are doing gay shit at those retreats. Sorry to tell you.
yeah. Oh man, don't even get me started. Like, the rampant homophobia is like a dead giveaway over there.
I mean, it's not
But-
gay if you like it.
right. Yeah. They're like, it's not gay if you
Wait,
pay the person
didn't
for
Andrew
secrecy.
Wasn't Andrew Tate last year talk about if you like to have sex with women, you're gay?
I don't know. Everything's
Yeah.
gay over there.
Yeah. He was
Everything
like,
is
oh,
gay.
something about the liking of like the liking of the act made you gay.
I saw, this is not related to Andrew Tate, but I saw a clip on a reel on Instagram, and it was one of these like relationship argument shows where they have men on and women on, and they just say the most ridiculous shit to each other. I don't know how that got in my algorithm. I'm assuming because I look at butts all day. There was like, this woman has a big butt and she's saying something stupid. But this woman was like, I could never date a man who has an umbrella. And it was like,
I was gonna
what?
say on the other side, women and their icks, because the toxicity goes both
Right.
ways.
What is
Because
that?
there's this whole I can't date a man if he drinks a frappuccino. Ugh.
What is that?
No, that's just frothy coffee. Stop
Right.
it.
What are you doing? Like, she was like, if he has, and the guy, of course, is befuddled where he's like, what? Because who's heard that before? No one. She's like, well, if he has an umbrella, he's like, so he just got to get wet in the rain. She's like, no, he can wear like a coat or a hoodie. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you don't think an umbrella is sassy? I was like, are you saying umbrellas are gay? Are you saying the act of owning an umbrella makes a man gay? Because listen, I love Mary Poppins as much as the rest person, but I wasn't saying to myself, like, listen, I got to give me those because I'm in the men now.
That sounds like something in her family. You know what I mean?
Right,
like maybe her daddy didn't like hold
something.
A man don't need no umbrella.
He probably died of the flu at 46, you know? Like, what's wrong with you? Anyway, these podcasts are stupid is my point.
He went to the store to get an umbrella, never came back.
Yeah. Right. I was 2 years old. My dad left our family for an umbrella.
Never came back. So it's gay.
Right.
And he really just left the mom for a man.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It was the umbrella that made me do it. I was straight. I swear I was straight when I left the house. Next thing you know, I'm singing in the rain, and the rain is men. It's raining men.
It's raining men. Well, perfect time for Marvel trivia.
Yes.
So this time, if anything's wrong, I don't blame ChatGPT, we blame Seamus.
Okay.
So
all right.
hopefully everything's right. All right. Rod, are you ready for some Marvel trivia?
Sure. Hit me.
Okay. Name every person that has held the title of Captain America in the MCU.
Every person. Well, obviously Steve Rogers.
Yes.
Obviously, oh my God, what is the black dude's name? Not Sam Wilson. There's another
that's two other name. That's another name on this list.
But there's another black dude whose
There's
name
a third
I don't
name.
remember. Who was it was in this.
It sounds like a liquor. Like a really high class liquor that an ex of mine used to drink.
Hennessy? I don't know.
No, that comes in colors. But like high end, like nice. Like
I'm gonna remember it.
Give me this man's in red, or give me this man in blue, or give me this man in black.
Johnny Walker?
Oh, John Walker.
John Walker. Oh, okay. So John Walker's not the black dude though. He's just a piece.
These are the answers that I have. I have Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
John Walker, and Sam Wilson.
Okay, and I'm saying there's another one who's a black dude, and this is like one of the dopest stories. It's like when they were experimenting with the serum before it was like good enough, they gave it to this black dude because it was like, who's got an expendable life? And so it wasn't right, the formula, but it made him go crazy. Oh, you know what? Technically, I still think that might be right though, because I wouldn't count him as a Captain America because they didn't give him the title really. So no, your answers are correct. That's right.
He's Captain Puerto Rico.
Right. Captain 3/5 of America.
Well, they did test on Puerto Ricans just like they
Oh
tested
yeah.
on y'all on they love to test on brown people.
Listen.
I mean, look at the most anyways, we're not even gonna get
Yeah,
into us.
I recently listened to a podcast that was about some of the experiments that they were doing on people in the islands and stuff. In America was doing the experiments, not some
Yes.
like old ancient shit.
Yes.
And I'm like, part of the reason we have chemo is because there was a doctor who was like straight up trying to kill the brown people on the island, and he
Yeah.
stumbled into chemo. Like, oh damn, you can cure cancer with this bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, and
god.
like birth control was tested in Puerto Rico and all
Oh
kinds
my
of other
god.
islands, and
That is crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy. What kind of
Yeah.
person goes to another place, sees the people, and is like, you know what we could do here?
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
start experimenting on
They
these
see
people.
specimens. Well, I mean, look at fucking RFK and his
Oh my
nomination
god,
like
yeah.
stuff. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's go back to the Marvel.
Yeah, but happy place. Marvel cinema stuff.
Marvel. Oh,
Take
and
me away.
for the next 4 years, it is full pragmumu, which is pragmatic delusion, and come along for the ride, people. I mean, we're out here still with the rebellion. We are part of the rebellion, but we're out here deluluing our way through the rebellion.
Nope, I'm gonna watch this new Captain America movie 12 times in the theater. I need it.
That was me watching Wicked 5 times. Which Marvel character is known for breaking the fourth wall?
Deadpool is the main one.
Yes. Asgardians?
Asgardians breaking the fourth wall?
Is that no, but this is another question, but am I saying that right?
Yeah, Asgardians. Yes, that's correct.
Asgardians have their own name for Earth. What is it?
Oh, it's Midgard.
Yes.
Midgard.
Yes. Why was Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, arrested?
Oh, because he's a thief. He steals.
Burglary.
He's one of my favorite guys. Like everyone kind of low-key shits on those movies, but low-key, other than the third one. Okay, so no one write in to Mimi. I don't even know if she's heard these movies, but other than the third one, so no one write in about the third one. But the first
is that the one with the family?
That's the one with the family. But the most important thing about that movie that I love is that it's a movie about motherhood, number one, which is none of the Marvel movies are. They're all about like fatherhood, like your daddy fucked up somehow. Motherhood, and then the second thing is about recidivism. It's the only one where it's like these criminals saved the fucking world, and they like everyone looked at them as former felons, and instead they're actually like really good people with hearts. They just needed a chance, and I love those movies for that. So no slander here, guys.
All right. Last but not least, who played War Machine in the first Iron Man?
Terrence Howard, my man.
Yes.
And then he got greedy and he got written out because he wanted as much money as Robert Downey Jr. apparently to be in the sequel, which they said, Terrence, you're out of your goddamn mind.
I mean, when 1 + 1 does not equal 2.
Oh my God. He's one of my favorite crazy people in Hollywood. Oh, I do a terrible Terrence Howard impression.
Do it.
Well, at the end, it's so ironic. At the end of Iron Man 1, he hasn't put on the suit to play War Machine, right? But clearly they're gonna do a sequel. He's gonna be in it in his mind, and he's gonna play War Machine. And so he looks at it, he's like, next time, baby. And I'm like, there's no next time. The most ironic line in the MCU is you calling your shot for a sequel and them being like, actually, Terrence are going a different direction.
That's so funny. See, that's why you got to be careful. It's good to speak your blessings out loud, but you got to be in the right room when you're saying them.
Yes.
Okay, before we go to our Patreon exclusive segment, and if you are not a part of the Patreon, you might as well come join. Sugar level and above, you get this Patreon exclusive segment. Please tell my listeners, where can they find you?
All right. Best places to find me. Just search the Black Guy Who Tips on all your podcast apps and you'll hear us there. You can search Rodimus Prime on Twitter. I'm never calling it X. And I'm
Best
over there
Twitter name ever.
Thank you. And I'm over there till the ship burns down. So I'm gonna outlast Elon.
I'm still
That's my
there.
goal.
I just don't go over
I
there.
think at some point he's gonna have to sell it, and I'm gonna laugh over his grave. Anyway. But you know, I'm also Rod TBGWT other places. So like Instagram and and TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because It's February, and I do a TikTok series every year that people look forward to. I think it's everyone's secret pleasure from the numbers and the amount of people who DM me. But it's calling out the Black people during Black History Month that we never talk about them during Black History for some reason. And just giving them their props and their just due. So
In
if
a
you guys
very
want to,
specific kind of
very
way.
specific way. And if you guys want to hear that, I say follow me on TikTok and Instagram because I'll be
I don't
sharing
know if celebrating is the word.
I would say sell-out-brating, maybe. Matter of fact, I'm gonna write that down. That's making the lexicon for the next time.
I love that. I love it. We're workshopping here. Well, Rod writes this down. You can find me on Twitter, MeMeCherry. I'm barely there, but yes, I'm holding on to it because that was my first big social media that like I loved, and I found so many artists there and so many people. So anywho, Twitter, you will always find me on Instagram, MeMeCherry IG as in Instagram, because some little girl did MeMeCherry has like 5 posts on it and that's it. But it's like, all right, girl, whatever. But the super special place you can find me when I slow down and don't be so Puerto Rican is patreon.com/MeMeCherry Productions. And if you are listening to this episode on Apple Podcasts or somewhere else that you find your podcast, please like and review. It's very important for a little independent media like this to help it grow. And if you are on YouTube, Rod, if you go to your text, what's your most used emoji?
All right, let me look real quick.
Mine, we're gonna call it the little angel face. It's like the little angel face with the halo and the wings. So leave either a little angel face emoji or
mine is the laughing to crying tears emoji.
the laughing to crying tears emojis. If you're
have
here,
a lot of fun.
If you're here in the YouTube, leave angels and crying emojis because that makes sense. But you know what? YouTube doesn't care. It's all about the engagement. And the reason why I say about this engagement, and not as in one on my ring finger, one on the YouTube, please, we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's just like 80 people a month. And that could be you or a friend or a friend of a friend. Yeah, subscribe.
It doesn't cost you anything. It's an easy way to support the show. And then every once in a while, you get a pop up in your algorithm that's like, hey, would you like smiles and laughs? Go subscribe. I'm going to go subscribe right now.
Oh my gosh. See, look at that. That was so easy. Rod, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
But you stick around. Don't go anywhere.
I'm here for the duration.
But you listening, get out of here. Bye.
MeMeCherry presents